a lot of diets are not sustainable. And then when you go off those diets, you put on weight plus more, and it becomes kind of a yo-yo cycle. Whereas I find with Metabolic Balance, it is sustainable. You go through periods. Like, yes, the first 4 weeks, you do have to stick very strictly to the diet. I didn't find it difficult, to be honest. And in fact, a lot of the foods that were on that list were ones that I enjoy. And even some that I wouldn't have necessarily had before, I find now are my go-to, like, if I want to eat something. So it's been a very good learning process for me.
Hello and welcome to the Metabolic Balance Stories podcast. This is where we share real stories and insights to help you on your journey to optimal health with personalised nutrition and metabolic balance. I'm Cherry Wills. I'm your host today, and I am delighted to welcome a wonderful Metabolic Balance client. Jelena Hahn is a client from Queensland in Australia. And she is joining me today to share her story. So a big hello to you, Jelena.
Hi, Cherry. Happy to be here.
Wonderful to have you here. So can you share with us kind of where you were? What started the whole thing that you heard about metabolic balance?
Okay, so I was looking for a long-term solution to weight loss. The reason being, in 2019, prior to it becoming extremely popular, I started using a weight loss injection called Saxenda. I was pre-diabetic at that time because I'm 62 now, so back then I was a bit younger, but I had early menopause, and I just found I couldn't shift the weight, and there was a lot of stress in my life, and that just didn't. I just couldn't move it. So I got up to 95 kilos, and I started using Saxenda, and it worked. And I lost 17 kilos. However, that was in 2019. Then with the advent of COVID, with me, I was a self-employed consultant at the time, and then with COVID and work drying up and shutting down, I found the cost quite prohibitive, and I couldn't keep going with the Saxenda injections. So that was fine, and I did keep it off for a little while. But then probably by 2023, 24, I noticed it was starting to creep back up again, not to the level it was before, but I thought I've got up to about 93 kilos, and I wasn't feeling great. I had, aches. I'm finding that I need to reduce my weight just so that my body can keep going. I want to have as healthy a lifestyle as I can. So, and I wanted something that I could actually maintain and not worry about it. So, I did a fair bit of research, and then I came across. Initially, I was told to look for a clinical nutritionist or someone who can take the diagnostics of blood tests and see what the results were, and then work it out from there. And then that's how I actually came across Metabolic Balance and my nutritionist, Katie King. And I thought, yeah, it made sense to me, so I gave it a go. So that I started that journey almost 12 months ago at the end of last year. And I have, I'm very happy with this. It's something that I know is sustainable for me. There are protocols that I have, the habits that I've learnt and that I've formed as a result of being on this. And I know that it works for me, and it is something that I've found. I've lost 11 kilos. I found it was quite easy to do, and I find my body has responded very well. And it's also one of the things that Metabolic Balance does with that initial blood test. It looks at all the problem areas that you have. And, there were a couple of things for me: liver, inflammation, a little bit of cholesterol. And so it's helped me focus on what I need to do to make sure that I can maintain good health or reasonably good health into my older years. And, that's how I found metabolic balance, and it's worked really well for me.
So would you say that you have, over a lifetime, because you're, 62 now, and have you been on a lot of diets through your lifetime? Is it really that menopausal time that just led to that weight increase?
I didn't actually start dieting until a bit older in life, probably 40s, in my 40s. And I tried lots of things. Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers. I ramped up my exercise, but that actually didn't work. In fact, anything, it made it worse. So there were a lot of things that I did try. Menopause it actually made it worse, the weight gain, especially around the midriff area. And for me, I just needed to do something because I knew I was pre-diabetic. I did not want to go down that path. I didn't want to have any, I take minimal. My blood pressure is great. I don't take any medications. So I wanted to continue. I wanted to make sure that that was the case, and go into my sort of my older years without having to take medication for blood pressure or cholesterol or anything if I could avoid it. So, so this has worked really well, and yeah, it's a very different to any other diet that I've tried.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the thing that we I think so many women have gone through this endless cycle often of dieting, trying different things, and being in that sort of quite negative. I think it's a very negative space, the dieting space. It's not a good place for anybody to be. And actually, what I always like to think of with what we're trying to do with Metabolic Balance, it's the education to help you find the structure and the way of eating that actually really is in tune and in sync with what you need to do to just stay in a good place.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I think a lot of diets are not sustainable. And then when you go off those diets, you put on weight plus more, and it becomes kind of a yo-yo cycle. Whereas I find with metabolic balance, it is sustainable. You go through periods. Like, yes, the first 4 weeks you do have to stick very strictly to the diet. I didn't find it difficult, to be honest. And in fact, a lot of the foods that were on that list were ones that I enjoy. And even some that I wouldn't have necessarily had before, I find now are my go-to, like, if I want to eat something. So it's been a very good learning process for me. And like I mentioned before, the habits are what I've liked, the water, the protein, all of those sorts of things, 3 meals a day. And it's just worked well for me. And yeah, I advocate it to my friends who are wanting to lose some weight. I say give it a go because I think, it's been good.
So you mentioned about your liver and your cholesterol levels and things like that. Have you noticed any other sort of health benefits that or changes in how you're feeling in yourself?
I used to, yes, without a doubt, I used to actually have a lot of um, aching joints, like particularly knees, back, everything. And I thought half the time I put it down to old age, but then I thought, oh no, it's got to be more than that. And I've certainly found that that's improved. Yes, it's a result of the weight loss, but also I think it's eating the foods that your body needs, and staying away from foods that probably cause inflammation. And half the time you don't actually recognize, I didn't recognize what foods were inflammatory for me. And so, having it all there in a structure, you do start to recognize. And now I find if I introduce something that I used to have that I don't have now, I might get, a rash where I never used, a rash that's gone away now, but it comes back. So I recognize now what foods are causing the inflammation. And that's probably the biggest thing for me has been the inflammation. I'm I'm due to have another blood test shortly, so I'm interested to see the improvement overall in a lot of the markers that I had before. So it will be, yeah, it'll be an interesting journey, that one, to see what's that like. So,
I think it's again, it's so common, like general body aches and pains. You know, that is what people experience, and it is incredibly common to just kind of be put that down to, oh yeah, that's old age, or that's just kind of there's nothing I can do about that. But actually, it's this recognition, in at 62, you are not old. You are an older person than maybe, but you're not old. And we have a lovely potential 30, 40 years ahead of you and you shouldn't be already slowing down, or the body actually is incredibly well tuned and equipped to keep going. I remember hearing a client in her, I think it was even her late 30s, who was told by her doctor that body aches and pains were totally normal because she was now approaching 40. And I'm just like, I think there's things we can do there. Actually, you don't have to pack up and resign to the fact that you're aching, and that your body is not working in your best interests right now. We just have to look at how you're fueling it and see if that has a benefit.
absolutely. And I lead a very active lifestyle. I do a reasonable amount of exercise, do hiking, I love gardening and all of those sorts of things. And this has allowed me to continue to enjoy that without those aches and pains, and feeling like, maybe it's time to give this up. It's not time for me to give it up. It's something that I really am looking forward to doing for the next 20 years or 30 years. So, yeah, so it has given me a new lease on life, I think. And I'm looking forward to the next 20, 30 years. I think I don't. I think in so many ways it's helped me, both physically, mentally, psychologically, every way possible, which has been a great experience for me.
Yeah, I love hearing that. I mean, that is fantastic for, because it is what we s- the truth when because this is using food as medicine, isn't it? This is using your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, and that's all we're doing. But we're just really fine tuning it so that you actually get the full benefits. And this is, to me, why it's so sustainable long term. Whereas something like the injectable, which is what you mentioned at the beginning. I think it's Saxenda you said you use, but yeah, that because I mean, like the way I always look at these things, everything has a place, and modern medicine is creating great opportunities. With the research is amazing, but at the same time, we can't out medicate the wrong food or not enough food, or it's not going to actually give you that real long-term life benefits that we really want to have for the next 30 years. I mean, that's what Saxenda, you took it for what, I don't know, however, 2 years or wherever.
No, it was 12 months. And what it did was curb my appetite. So that's fine. But it meant I love food, and so going to a restaurant is a bit of a, it wasn't the fact that you couldn't think you couldn't eat it, is the fact that you couldn't eat it with Saxenda. Whereas, okay, with Metabolic Balance, if I go to a restaurant every now, I'm allowed a cheat meal once a week. I eat what I like and enjoy it to the max, and then I know, okay, I've done that. Then I've just got to stick to the protocols for the next week, and it's fine. And it's easy to you can modify this once you get to the maintenance stage. You can modify it. You can go back on it. You can change it, but it's actually those habits that you learn when you're doing it that is what keeps you in good stead, and makes it possible for you to maintain the weight once you've lost it. Yeah. At, and that's been the easiest thing. So I don't, and it's it's completely sustainable. So
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's been a year. It's been a year now since you started. But obviously, we always love to kind of get the message across that this is a lifestyle and a flow. Like you said, you tighten things up when you need to, you relax when you need to, but then you know where to come back to, and you can reset and then widen things out when it's right, and that kind of thing. And that's so you've really navigated 2025, because we're at the end of 2025 now as we're recording this. And you've navigated pretty much an entire calendar year.
pretty much, yep. And I don't think that I've missed out on too much at all. Like I haven't felt, um, my cravings have been curbed phenomenally, which is great. But every now and then I can have, something that I really enjoy, and um, it's not the end of the world. And it's something that, I don't feel guilty about, because I know that I can actually just, that's today, and then, I can keep doing this. But, you do have to be a little bit disciplined on it. You do have to, um, make sure you try to eat within the parameters that they set you, which is fine. And it's based on your blood tests and your own personal individual, um, um, program. But and the other good thing is the support that you're given. So I was given some great support by my nutritionist, and it was very easy. So if I had a bit of a drama, like for example, maybe I wasn't going to the toilet as much as I would have liked to. So we talked it through, and she helped me manage that and navigate that. Or if there's something, she said, is there something that you're really missing out on that you want? And, I love nuts, almonds and whatever. So we talked about how to incorporate some of those things after, obviously, the initial phase. But, it was very good having that support. And I only had um, my last consultation with her a few weeks ago, and but I know that I can go back to her at any point in time if I've got some questions, and it just becomes so easy. I think, for me it has anyway. So yeah.
I think, we metabolic balance is practitioner. You have a coach practitioner that works with you, because the changes in the human body as everything is being adjusted and rebalanced. But it's also that whole mindset too. It's that keeping you and understanding why you're putting this effort in, because looking after ourselves takes an effort, doesn't it? I mean, like, and but anything that's worthwhile, as in that really gives us so much joy, is worth the effort.
You do have to put the effort in. You do have to stick to the program, um, and it is definitely worth the effort. And I certainly found it. And I did not find the food too restrictive or anything like that. It was actually very manageable for me. And that's, and I think that was one of the key things. I actually enjoyed all the food that I got to eat, um, and to this day, I still have the same type of things for lunch, for dinner, and I still kind of follow it fairly closely. But yeah, so it is good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's healthy, it's just lovely whole foods. It's basic kind of just going back to how we kind of meant to eat, of just whole foods, freshly prepared, beautifully presented really, and minimally processed. I mean, but then truly tailored to you.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what it is. It is going back to the basics, and yes, whole foods. And you know what? It's not that inconvenient. Some people say processed foods, if you don't have the time, whatever, but it actually isn't that inconvenient. I found it wasn't that difficult. I prepared my lunch before I went to work. I breakfast was so easy. Before, I never used to eat breakfast, and now I can't go without breakfast. I love my breakfast. I think it's probably my favorite meal of the day. And even sort of dinner, I was with my partner. He was cooking his own meal at one point, and I was doing mine. Mine was ready in probably a third of the time that his was ready in, although he was cooking a healthy meal. But it was quite interesting to see, and he said, "Oh, how come it didn't take you that much time?" So it is. It's not that hard using whole foods and staying away from processed foods. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. And this word, I just wanted this word that you use, convenient, as in it's not that. So convenience foods, this idea of convenience foods, but when we really look at that, well, convenience foods are highly processed foods that mean, yeah, they don't have to be particularly prepared. But what they then kind of give you is potentially the inconvenience of feeling a bit rubbish and not sleeping and tiredness and headaches and not being, not having good digestion and bowel movements. That all kind of thing is that the inconvenience of those the reality of life in that regard is kind of pushed down based on the idea of, well, it's so much more convenient to not have to take an extra 5 or 10 minutes in thinking what I'm gonna eat and planning my meals and maybe buying some fresh food. It's kind of a little bit of a strange world that we live in.
Well, it is, and it's that short-term convenience that we don't recognise as providing long-term problems, and I think that's where a lot of it happens. Um, but like I said, you think, "Oh, it's going to be more convenient," but I actually don't think it is. I think if you plan it out properly, it is very simple, very easy, does not take time, and yeah, I didn't find that it was something. I certainly I never was a big eater of processed foods, but I certainly don't miss them whatsoever. Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
Now, of course, you have the convenience of actually really being able to carry on enjoying your hiking and your gardening and your active lifestyle for years ahead. I mean, isn't that's just the payback you get from.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And, it didn't take me when I say I lost 11 kilos, that wasn't over the whole year. That actually happened in probably 6 months, maybe 6, 7 months. And then, there were times when I think, "Oh, I'm not losing weight on the scales," but when you take measurements, then you realize, or your clothes, you can tell that they fit better. So it didn't take that, it wasn't that length of time to lose the weight. It was really, it was more so after about 6 months and then just maintaining that weight loss. So
Yeah, yeah, and it's important to recognize as well, your body probably is also gaining strength. It's very protective of muscle. Um, when you release the weight, the fat in the way that metabolic balance allows you to do, because it's such a balanced process, actually the muscle is very protected, which is something that is you know, we are seeing more and more research around the injectables and the sort of the starvation diet approaches that especially as older women, we can certainly lose that muscle, which is so important for long term health.
absolutely, and that's one of the things that I have been quite, particular about now, and so I'm doing a lot more strength training and, that lean muscle mass, but it's just really about, as you get older, keep keep your strength up. If make sure that you do that. If you lose, on a lot of those injectables, not only do you lose fat, you tend to lose muscle, like you were just saying. And when you put weight back on, it's not the muscle that comes back. It can potentially be more than likely it's the fat. And so you then continue to lose the strength. And as you get older, aging, I'm very much aware of the importance of of strength as you get older, and that's to minimize your risk of broken bones or whatever, osteoporosis. So it's very important that that is what you focus on. But like I said, I used to amp up my exercise thinking that's what it is, but it's not. It is purely the food that you eat. Um, yes, you need exercise, but it is the fuel that you use in your body that actually generates or leads to the weight loss. And you know, once if you can incorporate exercise as well, that's great. But it's not the be all and end all. It has to be with the food that you eat. Or for me, it was without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is where when we find you get the body healthy. Then when you incorporate more movement, that is natural movement, exercise that feels good, and you keep going in a lovely, consistent manner with that, that is where you get the real longevity and you realize the full benefits that all of the research around exercise, we know is there. It's the irony that the vast majority of all of the research on exercise and a lot of lifestyle interventions, it's all done on healthy young men. There's actually little done on postmenopausal women.
Yes.
But what we need is we know muscle is incredibly important for longevity and for actually having great quality of life. Because quality of life at the end of the day, isn't that what we all want? We want to feel good in every decade of life and actually have a great health span, not just some long lifespan where at the end we're kind of feeling terrible.
No, and yeah, I want to feel at 62 like I did pre-menopause or and maybe I won't have the flexibility or I won't have the what I did at that age, but I think, and obviously as you get older that might reduce, but I do know, you've got to keep your body moving, but there is a process. I think you're absolutely correct in saying, look at what you eat. Once you get your body better in that way, then look at what you're doing physically. And I think then it starts to all fall in place. And yeah, like I said before, I'm looking forward to the next 20 years and having a relatively healthy and fit lifestyle. So, mm.
Isn't it nice to actually feel confident that you can be looking forward to feeling good over the next, because I think that's the tragedy. So many people look to the future and they don't even want to look to the future because they kind of they feel that they can't actually take control of their health and their well-being. They're at the mercy of the next medication or the next, or just feeling out of control. So I am just so thrilled to bits that thank you so much for sharing your story, because these kind of stories is what, people need to hear, that metabolic balance is an option, and tackling your food in a very scientific analysis way really can make a massive difference. But equally, it's about the whole lifestyle. We're bringing the joy back.
Absolutely. And yes, it definitely is. Metabolic balance has really been a very positive experience for me, and it's setting me up for a good, long term, hopefully healthy lifestyle. So yeah.
Yeah. One last question. If somebody's listening to your story now, and they are actually still sitting there going, I don't know, I'm not sure if this is what I can do or I want to do. What would you say to them?
Um, you have to put yourself out there, okay? And if you think it's because you've got too busy a lifestyle or you just can't face another thing on your plate, I am. I can tell you that the benefits far outweigh any likely inconvenience in the short term. I am the mother of an 18-year-old son with a disability. It has been, he has epilepsy. So the last 15 years have been really difficult. And I think that was one of the things that um, it kept me in this little bubble of, or this circle of going round and round, trying to find out what was right for me. And I always wanted to maintain my health because I knew that I had to be healthy for him. And it wasn't until I really started this program that I recognised that it it really it wasn't. Um, I never really had any doubts about it in the first instance, but it's certainly any doubts that I might have had was dispelled pretty quickly within the first few weeks, and the process of going through how I was feeling um, and the person that I was becoming, and I needed to do that for my son as well as for myself. But it actually was it for me, like I keep saying, it's just been such a positive experience, and I think give it a go, push yourself. You won't. You've got nothing to lose, in all honesty, and I think you'll find it very surprising once you start this journey. You'll recognise the benefits of it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to bits for you and what you've been able to achieve. And thank you again for coming on and sharing your story. It's been really lovely to chat to you.
Welcome, Sherry, and yeah, it's been lovely to chat to you too. Thank you.
And if anybody would like to know more about metabolic balance, of course, please check out the show notes, check out the website, metabolicbalance.com. Also, if Katie King, little shout out to Jelena's coach here in Queensland, thebalancenutritionist.com, I think is her email, her website. But yeah, so a big thank you. And of course, there are wonderful metabolic balance coaches around the world, around Australia, around the UK, around wherever you are. So, and many do also work online too. So, a big thank you again, and please do join me next time for our next metabolic balance story.